He had to become this amazing provider, which means he needed to put in extra work and effort towards his career, maybe his education. Maybe he had to really put in the work for a grind, whatever he was doing. But until he can provide a lavish lifestyle, you didn't think he was worth much to anything.
Today's video is all about the nice guy, the guy who's never really direct with women about what he wants and would rather wait for her to make a move than take the initiative. So let's get into the mess.
Male social justice warriors as sneaky
Yeah.
That's an actual term, right?
Yeah.
Well, sneaky is actually not a term that I came up with to be profane. It's actually a zoological term that captures in nature the idea of kleptogamy, where you're trying to steal mating opportunities. So for example, let's say you have a type of fish where there are two phenotypes of a male, There's the dominant, physically imposing male. And then there's a whole bunch of other males that actually pretend to be females so that they can sneak by the dominant males and then have a surreptitious coupling opportunity with the females. And that became known as the sneaky mating strategy. And so in the parasitic mind, I argue that male social justice warriors are instantiating a form of sneaky strategy, right? Look, I'm very sensitive. I hug trees. I cry when I watch Bridget Jones' Diary. See, I'm not, you don't have anything to be afraid of. And then hopefully that can allow me to have access to some willing and available female.
I'm not gonna lie. I thought he was joking around with that whole sneaky fucker fish thing, but it's legit. And the technical term for it is kleptogamy, just in case you missed it. And while it's typically a behavior seen in fish, amphibians, and insects, I can fully see how you can apply this concept to what some guys do when they're trying to get laid. While the guy in this video mostly went on about male feminists and all that, I think it applies perfectly to the whole nice guy thing. The guy that tries to get with a girl by coming across as the safe bet. The guy who will do her no wrong, and he'll wait for however long it takes for her to realize that, you know what, maybe this guy is the right one for me, which of course never happens.
Women tend to pick the cleanup guy around 27 to 35, let's say.
I didn't mean to stop the video so fast, but the term cleanup guy is crazy.
And it's not necessarily that all men that are picked during this period are the cleanup guy, but it's that you can just tell, because typically there's no fear in the woman. She's clearly not afraid to lose him because she's still marketing herself off to other men while being in a relationship. This is a woman who kickstarted her career by giving blowjob advice, saying that women have it harder. What about the men in the oil rig? What about the men in the coal mine? What about the men in construction? Those are 99% male fields. And somehow a woman that has spent her 20s partying in New York City is going to cry about women having it harder. And again, I think a lot of men are problem solvers and just think, you know what? This is the hottest woman that gives me the best sex. And it's more work than it's worth to go find something better. This is good enough. But you have to ask yourself, in a way, this is opting into his own destruction. Because if she is not afraid of him now, what is she going to do with the power of the state?
While it makes sense for women's taste in men to change as they get older, I think you do have to be careful about landing yourself a woman who sees you as a means to an end. It could be that she's at that point in her life in which she's feeling tons of pressure to settle down and start a family before it's too late. And as long as a guy is deemed good enough, she'll go along with it. I'm not too sure as to how often this happens, but I can say that I've experienced this myself, with women from my past re-entering my life, who all of a sudden want to see what could have been. While it's plausible that they were seeing something in me that they didn't before, at the time, I couldn't help but wonder if I was just a means to an end. And seeing as I'm the kind of guy who wants as little drama in my life as possible, I didn't really entertain any of it.
Here's the problem with so many women who are out here looking for the nice guy now. They want the nice guy because you've had all the guys that you could possibly imagine and you've been ran through. Basically, that's what it is. Let's be real. It's called a spade a spade. So you've been out there experiencing life, living it up, sleeping with all the guys that you want. Now, nobody wants you. Nobody wants to settle down with you. So now you want to find a nice guy and pretend to be something that you're not so that you can settle down. Because now you're thinking about being a wife.
Exactly. So enter the cleanup guy. I wouldn't really refer to these guys as nice guys, though. Instead, they're more like the safe guy, the safe choice. There's nothing nice about a nice guy. It's just that they're too afraid to make a move or deal with any form of confrontation or rejection.
And a lot of times, let's face it, the nice guy is not going to have a limit on how many bodies you got. And 9 times out of 10, you're not going to tell him the truth anyway, if the discussion even comes up, right? And you think he's just going to be listening to the story, right? But here's the thing with a lot of so-called nice guys, women, you got to understand this. While you were out living your life, living it up, dating whoever you want, sleeping with as many guys as you want, having your little hoe vacations, he was also living his life. And he was learning not to listen to the story. But all this nice guy stuff is just a fantasy. And a lot of women have had the right guy. You've had the right guy, but the right guy is going to place boundaries on you. So therefore, you feel, especially most of us melanated women, we don't want to be controlled. You're being controlling. You're trying to tell me how to dress, how to walk, how to talk. The right guy will put parameters on you and your behaviors and where you go because he wants to protect you and because he cares. And the right guy is not going to be with all the fake eyelashes and the nails and the fake this and the fake that and the little short shorts and the little tiny dresses when you go out and the nasty attitude and the, oh, I don't cook. He's not going to be with all that.
I feel like the kind of man she's talking about here is the kind of guy who's all about building himself up. The kind of guy who may have been seen as boring when everyone was getting their rocks off during their early 20s. And now that he's made something of himself, all of a sudden, women seem to have time for him. But now it's his turn to be a little choosy.
Everybody wanted to know where the good men are, but let me just explain to you what's stopping these good men from getting with you. This idea that a man should come along and take you as you are. He should accept you for who you are, how you feel, how you think, what you do, and he shouldn't question that. He should embrace it, right? That's what you want. But that man wasn't good enough to be with you, to get with you, until he did all the work.
Which is exactly what I just got done saying. And while I hate to use these cliche phrases, there's a lot of truth to the whole women don't want to build with you. They just want to meet you at the finish line.
He had to become this amazing provider, which means he needed to put in extra work and effort towards his career, maybe his education. Maybe he had to really put in the work for a grind, whatever he was doing. But until he can provide a lavish lifestyle, you didn't think he was worth much of anything. You want to make sure that you have a man who's making solid, sound decisions. You want him to stay far away from all these girls in these streets where he can get somebody pregnant and have all these children out of wedlock, because you want to be the woman who comes along for this perfect man, right? But you don't want to do any work. Do you know why your grandmothers back in the day were able to get these men when they were young? That's because they spent their entire life being raised and taught how to be a good woman, how to make sound decisions, what men cared about. See, we frown upon that now. You call it misogynistic. But no matter what name you put on these things, it's not going to change that you can't control what a man is going to find attractive and what a man is going to pursue. You just can't. So you have two choices. Get on board and start putting in the work now, or be okay being single. The choice is always yours.
The reality is, though, it'd still be pretty easy for most women to find a guy to build a life with once they're done having their fun. But depending on how long they leave it, they may have to sacrifice some of the qualities they want in a guy. Things like him having to be over 6 feet tall and perhaps making over 6 figures. I think it's preferable to find someone to build a life with when you're young, so you don't have to rush into things like starting a family. And if a woman's able to identify and secure herself a guy with the right qualities, she won't have to worry so much about her security in the future or hope for some man to save her at the last minute from a life of solitude.
You're not unattracted to him because he's the nice guy. You're unattracted to him because he's feminine. When I was single and most of my friends were single, I would hear girls all the time say, he's just too nice. I'm just not attracted to nice guys.
You see, the thing with nice guys is that they're too afraid to go for what they want or truly say what's on their mind. Rather than be direct or upfront with a woman about their intentions, nice guys try to sneak in through the back door, and most of the time, they want the woman to realize for herself just how special and valuable they are.
And I would be like, it's not that he's nice, it's that he's feminine and passive, and that is naturally unattractive to a feminine woman because there's no polarity. So it's not that you're unattracted to the guy that is interested in your emotion, that's interested in your feelings. You're unattracted to him because he's showing up equally emotional and equally in touch with his feelings at the wrong time. So a feminine man, a feminine guy will be always expressive. He will be always a little too sweet, a little too touchy-feely because he's feminine.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, you don't even know if he's being genuine about what he's feeling, because for the most part, he'll only do and say things which he thinks will get him closer to getting laid.
Not because he's not showing up in a masculine way where there's structure and your feminine feels safe to be your feminine natural self, because he's doing that. So you can't do that if there's no polarity in the relationship, if there's no polarity in a dynamic. Let's say you're on a first date and at first you're like, wow, he's so kind, but then you notice like he's really kind, like he's really a little too nice. He's not being too nice. He's just a more feminine man, and there are women who really appreciate that, mostly women who are a bit more in their masculine. They're going to be more attracted to the nice guy because there's polarity there. If you are a more feminine feeling person, you're not going to be attracted in a dating relationship to somebody who is equal in that same dynamic as you, because then there's no room. There's no like structure. You're both just like goo in the relationship. You know what I mean? Like there's not a lot of motivation or drive because that polarity is missing. So stop telling yourself that you just aren't attracted to nice guys, because you probably are. You're just finding feminine guys and calling them nice guys.
Let me break it down for you like this. You have the nice guy, the guy who's not very authentic or honest about what he really wants from a woman. Then you have your regular or kind guy, who's probably just your average Joe who's genuine, caring, and empathetic, but not afraid to make a move or be truthful with the woman. And lastly, you have feminine guys, the kind of guys you'd probably say are always in their feelings, which, as we know, isn't attractive to women, despite what they might be telling you in all these videos you see online. But yeah, let me end things there for today. But let me know what you think of all this down in the comments.